back once again to another tutorial, as I want to show you guys on how I was able to make this beautiful smoked dress. This is a video that was requested, and I promised to show whenever I have something like this to make. And thank God I have come across something like this to make, and I decided to show you guys on how to get your off-shoulder smoked dress. So you can see the sleeve here. This is an off-shoulder. I also have a video to make your full shoulder in case you don't like exposing your bust. I also have a video for full shoulder, and I also have a video for the half cut without sleeve. Just go ahead and put strap. I have two smoked video to show you that I have in the channel already, and this is an off shoulder. In case you have any, if you have anyone you want me to show you, go ahead to drop it in the comment section. Whenever I come across that kind of work, I will be able to show you guys on how to make it. So this is what I made. So, and I want to share it with you guys. In case you have not subscribed to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and share to your friends. Give this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys for your comments, your love, your share, everything, all your blessings, your prayers for me. I really appreciate you guys. I say thank you for it. It's because of you guys that I'm here. My own work here, as I always say, is to impact the little knowledge I know for you guys to also do what I know how to do best. So thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate you guys. In case you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe, please, and please subscribe to my channel. I really need your subscription for the channel to grow, for other people to also know that there are things like this for them to learn. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Stay safe. So let's go straight into the video. It's about to show you how to do this. So let's go there. Okay, welcome back once again to another requested video, another smoked dress video which I want to do. Before you start anything, you need to take off your threads from the main body and soak it inside water. You need to soak it inside water. This is very necessary. This is the first thing which you are going to do. Soak them in, then you keep them aside before you start anything. So after keeping it aside, what you are going to do next now is to get your measurements for the dress which you are going to make right now. So what I'm going to do now is to get the full length of my dress, and the full length of my dress is 40. So the full length of my dress is 40. I'm going to make it 42. And why 42 is because we are going to fold at the up of our dress, and we're going to fold at the hem part. So this is 42. This is an off shoulder, and it will have sleeve. Off shoulder with sleeve. I would have shown you how to cut this, but for the sake of those that might be seeing this for the first time, they should know what to do. So I'm going to show you guys how to sew it and everything. So what I'm trying to do here now is to get my 42. So this is my 42 which I have here right now. So I want to go off camera and roll my lines, but let me brief you guys on what I'm going to do. So after getting my 42, so you can see this is totally my full length of my dress which I want to make. So this is the full length. This is from my shoulder right now. This is my full length from my shoulder. And what we are going to make now is an off shoulder. So you know, when making an off shoulder, it is not going to start from your full shoulder. But if in case you want to make your smoky dress from the full shoulder, I have a video on how to do that, which I took from the full shoulder and smoked everything. I showed you process by process on how to do that. But what we are going to make now is an off shoulder. So what I'm going to do now, since it is 42 already, what I'm going to do now is to come down by 4 inches. So you can see 4 inches which I have here. I'll come down by 4 inches. So I told you I have 2 inches for sewing allowance, and 1 inch is for the up, another 1 inch is for the down part. So if you are coming down by 4 inches for sewing allowance, and then the 1 inch which I kept for the up, I'm going to take it from this part. Oh, my shot is broken, so I'm going to take it from this part. which means my 4 now is starting from here. My 4 is starting from here. Here is our aiming allowance, so I'm starting my measurement from this 1 inch, which is here right now. That means starting my measurement from here, this hemming part has its own sewing allowance left. So after placing your tape like this, starting from here, make sure there is 1 inch above these 4 inches for your hemming allowance at the top part. I'm going to show you on how to do that. So what I'm going to do now is to get my shoulder to bust measurement. And for what I'm making now, my shoulder to bust measurement is 10. Shoulder to bust measurement is 10. My under bust, which is I'm not going to make use of under bust, but I'm going to make use of my waist measurement. And my waist measurement is 15. Waist measurement is 15. Then my hip measurement is 24. Shoulder to waist, shoulder to bust, shoulder to waist, and shoulder to hip. So this is my bust, this is my waist, and this is my hip. So when you take your measurements like that, when placing it on fabric, make sure you take away these 4 inches. Take away these 4 inches. Add 1 inch for your sewing allowance at this part. So after that, let me go ahead to roll my vertical lines and come back without wasting much time for you. I hope what I showed you is not confusing. Let me come back again to make it easier for you to understand. So the full shoulder, the full length of my dress which I'm making for now, my full length is 40. Let me make it this way so you understand. My full length is 40, and since I'm making an off shoulder, I'm going to minus 4 inches for my off shoulder. Minus 4 inches. So this is my 4 inches which I minus now to get my full length plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. So why this 1 inch for sewing allowance? This 1 inch now is for the hemming part, because I'm going to fold it twice at the down part for that 1 inch. So after getting my measurement plus that 1 inch, at this topper part, I'm also going to come up by 1 inch, which I'm also going to fold twice at top part. I'm going to fold this twice. So after that, from this my 4 inches which I have here, if you want your off shoulder to be lower, you can make it 5 inches. So this depends on how low you want your off shoulder to be. So it is not constant that you make it this 4. You can make it 5 as low as you wish. So after getting my 4 inches, from here to my bust is 10 inches. And from my bust, from my shoulder to my under bust is 15. Shoulder to hip is 24. So these are the lines which I have here. I have my bust line and I have my waist line. This waist means the half cut line that you normally know, waistline. Then I have my hip line. Then I have my full line, full length line, as you may know. So what I'm going to do now is to cut off this unwanted part. This unwanted because it is not necessarily needed for our calculation right now. So we are done with this other part. Keep it aside. Then we come over to what we are working with right now. So after getting your measurements like that, what you are going to do now is to plus your measurement. And sorry how I was able to get my measurement. I have both fabrics placed together equally, and how I was able to get my fabric unfold before cutting was I used the largest part of my body measurement which I am working with right now. So the largest part of my body measurement which I am working with is my hip. If the largest part is your bust which you are working with, make sure you go with your bust. So for what I'm making now, the largest part of my body measurement is my hip. And my hip, I divided my hip by 4 plus 4 inches for ease, because it is a smoky dress. 4 inches for ease, then 1 inch for sewing allowance. The total, my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 5 inches for sewing allowance. That is what I have here all through. So I use it to cut down because the largest part of my body measurement. So let's go straight to the point in terms of calculation. So what I'm going to do now is to get my bust measurement divided by 4. So what I'm working with now, my bust is 33 divided by 4. So I'm using my tape to make it easier, dividing my tape into 4 to get my measurement for my bust. So here is my bust divided by 4. Here's my bust divided by 4. plus 4 inches for ease, which is the smoked part for it to shrink, and 1 inch for sewing allowance. So after getting that, I'll come over to my waist and take my waist measurement. My waist is 28. 28 divided by 4. 28 divided by 4. So my 28 divided by 4 will give me 7 inches. I place my 7 inches right there. And I come again, take 4 inch for my ease for the shrink part, and 1 inch for sewing allowance after everything. If you want yours to be tighter, you can come lesser than 4 inches for your shrink part. If you want it to be freer, you can go further than 4 inches for your shrink part. Make sure you are only, if you want it to be more freer than this, you can do the extension with your hip. You're using your hip to do your calculation before making this adjustment. So after getting my waist measurement plus 4 inches for my shrink part and 1 inch for my sewing allowance, I come over to my hip, which I already have here. My hip is 35 for my hip. 35 for my hip. 35 divided by 4, which I have for my hip, plus 5 inches. Plus 5 inches for everything. 4 for shrink parts, 1 inch for my sewing allowance. Then I'm going to use the same thing for my hem, but if you want your down part, if your hemming part to be tighter, you can still go ahead to take to minus 1.5 from your hip to get this hemming part. Okay, let me see. Okay, let me just do that to tell you that it is still the same. So my waist measurement, which I have here, my hip which I have here, minus 1.5 will give me 12.5. It is, I am including both my sewing allowance, as you can see now. So I'm just reducing 1.5 from everything. So now it is giving me 12.5. So I'm going to put my 12.5 right here. So this is literally the same thing as a pencil dress. That is what we are doing here, but I am adding an extra allowance because of that shrink part. If you make it equal, it will be it will be like a hell for you to put it on. You will go through hell putting it on. So for you not to make that mistake, go ahead to do it like that. So after that, come over to the upper part. So here consists of our round shoulder measurement, and my round shoulder measurement, which I have, is 38 for my round shoulder measurement. So 38 now divided by 4 for my round shoulder, 38 divided by 4 will give me 9.5. So I have my 9.5 right here. So in total of my round shoulder measurement, I have my 9.5 right here. And what I am going to do, I am going to leave it exactly at this my 9.5, because I am still going to include my sleeve, and my sleeve which I am going to cut, I am going to create an allowance for that because of the shrink part. So by making it like, I was supposed to take away 4 inches. I was supposed to take away 4 inches to get my armhole curve, but because of we are adding extra allowance, this 4 inches is supposed to be come from my sleeve to join here to complete my round shoulder. But because we are working with a smoked dress that shrinks, because of the shrinkiness of the smoked dress, we are adding allowance for every part of our body. And for this upper part, I'm adding only 4 inches. You can as well make it 5 inches as you wish. It will still come out. But I'm making use of 4 inches for my shrink part. So from my 1 inch mark, which I kept there, I was able to divide my bust divided by 6 plus 1.5 to get my armhole. As you can see, the red line there. So from that point where my hand is, I connected it down to get my armhole curve. So just like that, that was how I was able to curve out my armhole. So I will fold that 1 inch, then cut my armhole out. So in total, we are making everything with sewing allowance of extra inches because it is going to shrink. We don't make it exactly the same shape as your normal dress. So take note of that. While all these calculations are going on, make sure your threads are still inside the water. Don't bring them out yet. So after getting this measurement, I've come down to my armhole measurement. And my armhole divided by how to get my armhole is my bust divided by 6. So as I told you earlier, my bust is 33 divided by 6. I'm working with my tip as I told you to make this easier for me to explain better. So my bust divided by 6 gives me 7.3. I'm going to plot. So let me make it 7. Let me make it. Give me 5.3. Let me make it 5.5. So 5.5 plus. I'm going to plus 1.5 inch to my 5.5 plus 1.5 inch gives me 7. That is where my armhole is going to fit. So plus 1.5 inch makes it 7, and I'm going to reduce it by. So I'm going to reduce my off shoulder, which I have the 4 inches right here. So I'm going to place it at this point here, 7 inches. My armhole, my bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. This is what I have right here. Why I make it 1.5? It is because I have already take away my shoulder slope. I was supposed to make it 2 inches. If it were to be for full shoulder, I was supposed to make it 2 inches. But with this off shoulder now, I have already taken away my shoulder slope. That's why I make it 1.5. Hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So after that, this is totally your armhole, which you have right here. And for this armhole, what I'm going to do now is just to connect it from this point. I'm not going to take it as normal armhole as you normally do because we are not fixing those kind of. This is an off shoulder sleeve. So what I'm just going to do now is just to give it a curve like this. Just to give it a curve like this. So if it is going to sit now, just going to give it a slanted curve like this. Because it's an off shoulder top which I'm making and not like the usual armhole which I'm making for full shoulder. So if you want your off shoulder, your sleeve to sit at the side, like to relax more at the side, it depends on this your curve which you have there. You can bring it down. If you want it to sit at the side, you can bring it down. And if you want it to sit at your shoulder, to go up as close as your shoulder, you can make it this up like this to fix your sleeve. So with this point, your sleeve is going to sit higher at your shoulder point. Hope you understand what I'm trying to explain to you right now. So this now, I don't want it to sit too off, and I don't want it to sit too high at the shoulder. So that is why I'm connecting it from here to this point. You can as well adjust your sleeve if you want it high or low after sewing everything, and you put it on your body and you decide to make it low. You can still trim it after all those. You can still trim it and you can still make an adjustment at this upper part when doing that. So what I'm going to do now, this my 1 inch which I'm going to fold now. I'm going to fold it like this because this one will be folded when sewing. So I'm going to fold this my 1 inch like this. Then from this my point which I have my armhole connected, I'm going to connect it down to this part like it because I'm going to sew here and fold like this. I'm going to fold it twice and sew at this part. So this is my 1 inch which I told you from the sewing allowance at the ending part. So I'm going to cut out like this. Then I'm going to go ahead to cut out my shape. Go ahead to cut out my shape for my dress, just like this. So after getting your body measurement cut, like your shape cut out like this, what I'm going to do, should I cut my sleeve? Should I cut my sleeve? Let me see. Sleeve length, sleeve length. I will do my sleeve later on. Don't worry, I'll show you guys everything that you need to know about this. So I'll show you my sleeve later on. So what I want to show you now is how to go about this. Let me come with my other things to make you understand better. Okay, so some people are confused about this, so I want to take my time to explain this for the sake of those that are confused. So when making a smoked dress, you are working with two different thread, and this thread is semi soaking. Is an elastic thread. That is the name of this thread. This thread is an elastic thread. So this is the thread which you are going to soak. And the reason why I soaked this thread was because while this thread was inside its shell, it has dried up, and you need it to be soaked so that it will be able to be free. You need it to be, you need the elastic to come up better than when it is dry. Hope you understand what I'm trying to tell you now. So it is better you to soak it in water, so it gives it that lightness of the stretch. So as you can see what I'm doing here now, it is very light in stretch. This one is trying to be stubborn, but let me work with this. I'll come over to that later. So it should give you the light stretch. So as you can see, this is very soft because of the water. So it makes your work very easier to stretch when sewing. But if you don't soak it on water, it will give you difficulty after sewing. So make sure you soak it in water. So this is the other thread which you normally know we work with. And this thread is going to sit at the top of your machine, and while this is going to be under your machine. That's why I said we are working with two different threads. So this one right here, you are going to roll it on this like this. You're going to roll it like this on your bubble, like this. Going to roll it. Don't, when doing this, make sure you are not stretching your elastic. Don't stretch it, please. Don't stretch it. Just look at what I'm doing. I'm using rolling it with ease. I'm rolling it with ease like this. So this is how I'm going to roll until it gets full. I'm going to roll it like this with ease. I'm not going to stretch it. Don't stretch it, please. You can see what I'm doing. My hand is free when doing this. My hand is free. So go ahead to roll it there. Then this one which you already know, this thread is going to pass through the eye of your needle, not this one. The use of this thread is just to sit under your machine, which is the wrong part. This thread is not going to show at the right part of your fabric. It is going to show on the wrong part of your fabric, while this one will show at the right part of your fabric. This thread which you know of, it is not stretchy. It is not, you can see it is not stretchy, unlike this one. You can see what I'm trying to say. So this one that is stretchy will sit under your machine, and this one will sit at the top, which means this one is going to pass through the eye of your needle. So take note of that for those who do not know. But before you start sewing, you are going to use this thread to hem your top part. So remember, I am cutting both back and front the same. So what you are going to do is to use this thread. This thread will be at the under part of your machine. It's going to be at the under part of your machine. I'm going to use it to hem this up and hem this down before taking it out from the under part of your machine. Then put this in. So this comes in after you have folded this up and this down together. After you have folded them, then this comes in. So let me go ahead to do the folding of this up and this down. And I will sew and go get close to half. Then I'll show you on what to do, on how to finish your sewing them before I show you on how to cut your sleeve. So let me go ahead to do that. I believe with this explanation, you should know better on what to do for those who are confused, who have been telling me their issues. I believe I have answered your questions. So let me go ahead to do rest of that and come back to show you as I said. Okay, so as I told you, this is my upper part, which I folded it twice. As I told you, I folded it twice, and this is my hemming part at the down part. You can see it as well, which I folded part, as I kept my sewing allowance for my 1 inch. So when I started sewing my smoke on the dress, what I did was to start from that line which I folded as my 1 inch allowance for this topper part, for this top part. So that is the line which I run my first thread on before continuing my thread on the second one. And take note, when sewing this, you should be sewing on the right part of your fabric. And when it come close, bring the camera close. So you can see my thread now. This is my main thread that you normally know, that pass through the eye of my needle, as I told you earlier. So this elastic thread, which you can see here, comes from under your machine. So this is the work of this smoked thread. It comes from the under and not from your eye. Take note of this. It stays under, and your main thread, which is the major one we normally use, comes from the eye of the needle. So after sewing your step by step, what you are going to do when sewing step by step, what you are going to do is to make sure this distance between your first thread to the other one is 0.5 inch. Then when you start, make sure you tighten your stitch when sewing. Make sure you back stitch so your thread will be tight. Don't do it much because the thread under is elastic thread, it might cut. So just stitch it once, back stitch, so that your starting point will be tight. Then when stitching, make sure the distance between this space to the other one which I have just done is 0.5 inch. If you take a closer look at all what I have been doing, you will see that the space in between is 0.5 inch that I have there. So what I'm going to do is to make sure I sew it very close. Come closer. So when sewing, make sure this your space which you are sewing here is very free. This space which you are sewing is free. Let me bring the camera closer for you to see. So you can see what I have here. So when sewing, I will make sure I have a plain ground for my thread to pass. I have a plain ground for my thread to pass. So let me keep the camera right and sew for you to see how it's done. So you can see me making sure I have a plain ground for my thread to pass. So I'm using my hand to create that plain field, and make sure you are maintaining your 0.5 inch for your sewing allowance. So I'm creating that plain field for my thread to pass. So you can see what I'm doing there. So I'm not trying to let it climb on this like this. If it does climb like this, you have shortened your fabric. So make sure you bring it out and make sure it is on a plain ground. Your thread is passing on a plain ground. So at this other side, it gathers your fabric with the elastic thread which you are using. So that is the work of your elastic thread that you are using. So make sure you are making that plain ground. Take note of this. You are keeping that plain ground for your threads to pass the way you start. So you can see what I'm doing just like this. So you can see the plain ground I'm trying to create. Before your thread gets to that point, you create your plain ground for it to pass freely. So this is very important for you to do. So you can see how it is. I'm doing it, clearing that plain ground. I just want you to understand how to do this so you don't go ahead to make it. Then at this end, I'm going to backstitch and come again to tighten my ends, my both ends. I'm backstitching to tighten my thread so it does not lose. So after this, you go ahead to do the next one. So let me just show you what it looks like so you can see what it looks like. So take note of this. So let me go ahead so you can see what it looks like. So let me go ahead to do the rest parts, then show you on what to do next. Okay, so you can see what I have here after doing everything like that. So what I'm going to take note of is the armhole that I have right here. I'm going to take the measurement of my armhole which I have here from this end down to this upper part. So what I have here now is, what I have here in total is 5.5. This is my armhole. If you can look closely, you can see my lines which I mark So this is my armhole, and I have 5.5 from this up to this end here. I have 5.5. So I have my two sides which I've already sewn. So now is the armhole, the sleeve which I want to cut right now. So you need your bicep measurements for your sleeve. So my bicep measurement is 13. 13 divided by 2 will give me 6.5. So 6.5, I am going to add extra 2.5 to 3 inches. So 13 divided by 2 give me 6.5. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to add extra 3 inches or 2.5. I'm going to add extra 2.5 because we are working with an elastic thread. So you need it to be free for elastic to gather it, so that when you put it on, it will expand a little. So that is what we are making use of now. So I'm going to 6.5, 1, 2.5, which is 9. So I have my 9 right here for my sleeve. So after getting my 9, what I'm going to do next now, where's my shop? Okay, so my sleeve is going to have flare at the down part. So what I'm going to do now, after getting my 9, I'm going to trim off this my English line, as I normally call it, and get the full length. So before I get the full length, I'm going to take off 1 inch for my sewing allowance at the upper part, which I'm going to fold twice, the way I did for the main body. So I'm going to take my 1 inch for sewing allowance out here, and I'm going to roll it like this. So after doing that, I'm going to get my full length plus 0.5 inch for my sewing allowance. So my full length is 9 plus 0.5 inch for sewing allowance, which is 9.5. So I have my 9.5 right here. So the 0.5 inch for sewing allowance is for this down part, which I'm going to use to join my flare, which I'm going to attach at this down part. So after getting that, as I told you, for my round shoulder measurements, I reduce 4 inch for my round shoulder measurement to join to my other body. So I'm going to put 4.5, which means this half inch for the joining of my sleeve together to my upper body. So after getting my 4 inches that I reduced from here, I told you when you get your round shoulder measurement, you need to take off 4 inches that you are going to attach to this other part for your sleeve. So that 4 inches comes from your hand, which is divided by 2. That makes it the 4 inches. You can see my fabric is on fold right now. So if I open it, it will be 8. So divided by 2 give me 4. Then this 0.5 inches which I have here is the one that I will use to join here together, that I'm going to sew here to join my sleeve together. So after getting that, I'm still going to put my 2.5 at this point here. I'm still going to extend my 2.5 for the gather of my sleeve, as I told you earlier. So at this my sleeve round which I have here, so this my sleeve round which I have here, I'm going to extend to put my mark for my sleeve round. So the roundness of my sleeve is 9.5. So 9.5 divided by 2 will give me 4.7. 4.7, right? Give me 4.7. So this 4.7, I'm still going to include my 2.5 inches for my gather for my sleeve, because we are working with an elastic sleeve. So from this point which I have here for the upper part, I'm going to cross check my 5.5, just like this. You can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to cross check my 5.5 just like that, and then I'm going to roll it down like this and mark it here. So you can see what I have. So after marking it here, which means this is my bicep measurement which I have right here, then from this point I'm going to link it to this armhole which I have right here like this. So my armhole is just taking away my 4 inches which I took out for my armhole, the way I did for the upper part. So after taking off my 4 inches, this is my, just let me make it easier for you to understand. So after taking off my 4 inches, the way I did for the up, give me 8 inches for my where my sleeve depth is going to be for the armhole. So then I connect it down to the sleeve length after getting my calculations like this. You should know that I have extra 2 inches for 2.5 inches for sewing allowance at each point because of my gather stitch that I'm going to run. So it will not be the same shape, because I'm still going to run gather stitch at my sleeve where I did for the main body. So what I'm going to do now because here I'm going to fold there and sew it twice. So I'm going to fold there the way I did for my main body. Then I'm going to get my lines which I have right. Let me cross check this. Okay, it's where my shock is. So I'm going to connect this down to this point, then connect this down to this point, just like this. So I need two sleeves of this. Don't bother about the shape of your armhole, because after I gather everything, it will shrink and form the exact shape that is supposed to be. So what I'm going to do now is to cut two sleeves for this. I'm going to cut the second face of my sleeve using this one which I already have here to trace out my second sleeve. That's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to trace out my second sleeve. I'm going to cut it out just like this. So you already know how to sew your sleeve. So go ahead to sew your sleeve the way I showed you on how to fold it. You're going to fold this one twice. You're going to fold this twice, fold it once, fold it again twice, then sew down. Do the same for this other part. Then go ahead to smoke it the way I showed you. Smoke out to this end, because here I'm still going to put my sleeve, which is the flay part. So my flay which I'm going to put at this down part will be the square shape kind of flay. The flay that has a square shape kind. That's the kind of flay I want to put for this my sleeve right now. And one side will be low, one side will be high. So I have not really come to a conclusion the width of what I really want. So let me just bring out my sleeve and show you on how to get your square shape. So one side will be high and one side will be low. My round circumference for my sleeve is 9.5. So at this your flay part, which you are going to draw your circumference for your flay, you are going to put your exact measurements for your flay, or you can still add extra inches because it is still going to squeeze it if you make it like 1 inch bigger than your sleeve. So let's just do the 1 inch bigger than your sleeve than your round circumference. So my round circumference for this part, so my main round circumference for this part which I have here, which I have is 9.5, 9.5, and I added 2.5 extra sewing allowance for because of the gather which I'm going to sew at this part. So yeah, let me just add 0.5 to make it 10 inches for the round circumference. So 10 divided by 4 will give me 2.5, because I have 4 here now. You can see 1, 2, 3 and 4. It is 4 right here. I will show you everything. Let me just cut it out for you to understand. So 2.5, I will place my 2.5 like this to make sure it is up to 2.5. Then after placing it like that, I'm going to crochet. What do I have from there to there? 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. So go ahead to crochet it. So I have it like that. I have my shape at this part like this. But if in case you did yours and it is not up to your shape, go ahead to reduce it or you increase it. Just use the way I showed you on how to get your shape. You go ahead to cut it like that. So the length of my flay, which I'm working with, the length of my flay is the full length of my sleeve is 16 minus 9. 16 minus 9 will give me 7. So I'm going to make it 8 because of 1 inch for sewing allowance. And that 1 inch for sewing allowance, 0.5 inch will be the one that we can use to join this to this other part. This down part, I'm going to use bias for this. So making it 8 for my shape. So this part now, I'm going to make it 8. And I'm going to take from this point to this end. Look at my sleeve which I have here. So I'm going to take from this point to this end is 9.5. This is my 8 at my main circumference. Because this is not a flay, I would have collect or used the same measurements to get my flay, but because this is a square shape which I'm making use of, I'm going to make use of what I have from here to here to get this other side. So I have 9.2, 9.7 here. I'm going to place the same 9.7 at this other part. Then I'm going to roll my straight line, connecting it together like this. So at this part, I'm going to use 6 inches for the side. I don't want it big. It depends on how you want your sleeve to be, how big you want it to be. You can still go ahead to shaping it if it is too big. So just go ahead to draw your square shape for your flail just like this. So you should know that exactly what I have there, that is the same thing I have at this down part. So I'll go ahead to cut it out. Go ahead to cut it out just like this. So at this part, you can still decide to reduce here if you please. So let me see if I will still reduce here. Let me reduce here by make the distance between this up and the down by 4 inches. The distance 4 inches. So I will connect my lines just like this. Just pay close attention. This is somehow calculative because it's not the normal flay that you know. And this is a high and low, high front and low back for this square shape which I want to form right now. So after getting my flay, so this is what it looks like for my flay. So when you put your hand like it, it's going to be like this. The shape will be like this. This side will be low and this back side will be high. So that is the aim which we are going to get right here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use this exact shape to cut out the other one to make our calculation more easier for us to do, to work with. So I'm going to place this one to this other one and cut it out. So let me just go ahead to cut it out and I'll come back to you. Okay, so I have my other one cut out already. So what I'm going to do now is to do the necessary sewing to sew my bias around this. I believe you should know how to sew your bias. I go and sew my bias and turn it. You can either turn it in or turn it out, either way which you please. So I'll go ahead to sew my bias on my side. Then I'll go ahead to sew my sleeve and smoke it. Then sew my sleeve together. So let me see if I will still come back or I will just show you the finished work of this. So let me go ahead to do that, then come back to you. So I came back again to show you guys something. So what I'm going to do now, just go ahead to join you. Remember we kept 1 inch for sewing allowance. So what I'm going to do is to join 0.5 inch. I will use 0.5 inch for my sewing allowance. I'm going to join my sides together so you can see my upper part and the down part. So I'm going to join it by right side, facing right side, join it together, and you can see the sleeve which I just cut out. So yes, this is the sleeve which I cut out. You can see how it looks like now. It has now shrink in because of the stretchiness of the sleeve. You can see how it looks like now. So what I'm also going to do for my sleeve, I'm going to sew the same 0.5 inch. This is my armhole which I have here. I'm still going to sew the same 0.5 inch from this spot down to this end. Then I'm going to sew my flay which I have there, my square shape of flay. I'm going to sew it on my sleeve. So let me go ahead to join both my front and my sleeves together. Then I'll come back again to show you on how to fix it, and that will be the last of what we have been making for now. So let's go there. So I have joined my sleeve and joined my flay for my sleeve. I have the second sleeve. If you could remember, I told you to join it by 0.5 inch all the way down. Go this one 0.5 inch. So what we are going to do now is to make sure our lines are meeting each other at this part which I joined down. So this is my armhole area which I have here. So this is my armhole part which I have here. So I'm going to join it from this down. I'm going to start my joining from this down like this. Make sure it is meeting the same line as your main body. Then take it up to this up like this. Then from there you sew down to this up. Then from this part you sew down to this up. So I'm going to do the same thing at my both sleeve. Then this is all you should know for now. Then go ahead to place it on the mannequin for you to see the finished result of this. So you can see the finished work of what we have been making. You can see how beautiful our off-shoulder smoked dress looks like. So you can see, look at the back, how it looks at the back. You can see how nice and beautiful it looks like. So just go ahead and try yours to give you a good result, just as this. You can see how beautiful it looks, very nice and smooth. You can see the sleeve, which I told you, the square sleeve. You can see how it looks. You can see the shoulder, which I have joined together with the top, so you can see how it looks, very nice. So just go on and make yours like this. I bet you yours will even be finer than this and better. So just go and do yours like this. Thank you. Don't forget to share it with your friends for them to also learn on how to do this. And if you, in case you have not subscribed to the channel, subscribe now, because I have a lot of work coming for you guys. If you love to see more of this kind of things beautiful like this, please subscribe, so I'll be able to show you guys, and you'll be able to get the notification whenever I upload a new video. You will get the notification. So go ahead to subscribe, share, and like. Please comment down below and give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful. Thank you. Stay safe and remain blessed.